Watch out, there's a shotgun there too. But there's weight to this blanket. Holy shit. Alright, let's cover it. Let's go grab her. Yeah, so we gotta go grab her. Baby condos.
The body in that trunk belonged to a 6-year-old boy named Eli Hart. The woman who had been driving the car, the woman officers were now running to arrest, was his mother. But here's the part of this story that should make all of us angry. What this mother did was monstrous. Yet she was not the only one who failed Eli Hart. The system built to protect him, the social workers, the courts, the agency whose entire job was his safety, had placed him back in her hands just 10 days earlier. They had been warned. Again and again and again. And they sent him home anyway. It began as the most routine thing a police officer ever does: a traffic stop. On the morning of May 20th, 2022, officers from the Orono Police Department were on patrol near Spring Park, Minnesota, a quiet lakeside community about 20 miles west of Minneapolis. The kind of place where the most exciting thing on a morning shift is usually a speeding ticket. Then they saw it. A gray Chevy Impala driving down the road, missing a front tire entirely, grinding along on the bare metal rim, sparks coming off the pavement. As the officers pulled closer, they saw more. A shattered rear window, what looked like bullet holes punched through the side of the car. This was no longer about a missing tire. They turned on their lights and pulled the vehicle over, with no idea that this ordinary traffic stop was about to become one of the most disturbing cases in the state's history.
What's going on?
I gotta go take our car to go get tickets started.
Okay.
Were they speeding?
Well, you don't have a tire.
Going home right now to go.
Okay, where's home?
Just down the block. Do you mind if I get on my way? I really can't drive on this. It's gonna hurt.
Right, so that's why you're being stopped right now, because you don't have a tire.
Exactly, and I'm on my way. I literally live 1 block away.
The driver was agitated from the very first second. She wouldn't settle. She kept talking over the officers, kept insisting she just needed to get home, that she lived only a block away and had to put a new tire on right now. It was strange behavior for a routine stop. Most people are nervous. She was something else, restless, evasive, desperate to leave. When the officer asked her what had happened to the car, the answer she gave only deepened his suspicion.
Okay, so you said kids were shooting BBs at your window? When was that?
Like an hour ago.
They were kids that were shooting at your window and you don't know them.
Yeah.
Did you think about calling the police?
I chased him down, and now I'm gonna go call my insurance.
Kids, she said. Kids had shot her car with paintballs and BB guns about an hour earlier. That was why the window was shattered. That was why the tire was gone. There was only one problem. Paintballs and BBs do not blow a tire clean off its rim. They don't punch holes through a car door. The officers knew it immediately, and the more they pressed, the more her story shifted and cracked under its own weight.
Okay, so paintballs don't break a tire though.
Well, they must have been doing something because it was really.
Why is your hand all bloody?
I was just.
You're what?
I'm really having a female issue.
Okay.
Then the officer noticed her hands. They were covered in blood. She had an answer ready for that too. A feminine issue, she said. She had been adjusting something, hadn't had a chance to wash up. Another explanation that didn't quite fit, delivered a little too quickly. And then, again, she asked if she could go. The officers asked her to step out of the car, and once they got a clear look inside that vehicle, the explanations stopped mattering.
You see this? This is blood.
No, it's not. It's
Deer meat?
whole bag of ravioli and groceries over here.
Let me see your hand for a second. Can you just show your hand to me? How about the other side?
It's just dirty.
Okay.
It smells like death in there.
This one.
Deer meat. That was the new explanation for the blood now visible throughout the interior of the car. She had been carrying deer meat from a local farm, she said, and it had spilled everywhere. But the officers had been around enough to know the difference. This was not a spill. This was not a leaking grocery bag. This was spray, the kind of fine, scattered pattern that comes from something violent happening inside an enclosed space at high speed. And there was the smell. One officer said it plainly. It smelled like death.
My car is a mess. Like,
Well,
can't really be mad.
why didn't you get off the roadway? Because,
You guys are being so rude.
like, there's...
Gotta look up. Okay, this is good. You look up.
Happened in this corner here.
Sure, so I had bags of groceries there. I had some deer meat, I had some ravioli cans, I had some veggies, and those people broke my window, so I had to throw all my groceries away.
Let's start 06 and just, yeah. There's a lot going on here. That's a lot of blood.
What?
Or something.
Blood and... So, is this what you were talking about right here? That hole? Is that from a bullet or...
Blood on the ceiling of the car. Shotgun shells on the floor. One already fired, one still live. A bullet hole punched clean through the headrest of the back seat. And what one officer quietly pointed out to another looked like biological matter sprayed across the back of that same seat. A headrest, a back seat. The places where, in most cars, a child rides. Every officer at that scene now had the same sick feeling in their stomach. But there was still one place they hadn't looked, one door they hadn't opened. Here is where this case takes a turn that still haunts the officers who were there that day. Despite the blood, despite the shotgun shells, despite the bullet hole and the smell, the officers had not yet opened the trunk. And in the moment, weighing what they were legally allowed to do, they made a decision that would nearly let a child's killer escape entirely. They decided to drive her home.
One for target practice. I don't know, my boyfriend drives the car, but I'm very
Your boyfriend drives the car?
Yeah.
When was the last time he drove the car?
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, and those have been in there since then?
Yeah.
Where's the actual shotgun?
My boyfriend keeps it, I think, at his house.
Who's your
He
boyfriend?
definitely does not have a paintball gun.
Who's your boyfriend?
She had an explanation for the shells, too. They belonged to her boyfriend, a man named Robert Pickerainen. He liked target shooting. The shotgun itself, she said, was at his house. And this is where the officers' suspicion turned in a direction that would cost them. They began to focus on the boyfriend. Maybe he was the dangerous one. Maybe whatever happened in that car had been his doing. They were thinking about getting a search warrant for the vehicle, doing everything by the book. So they made the call to drive Julissa Thaler back to her apartment, just down the block, while they sorted out the paperwork.
No, you're not being rude. You have every right to ask these questions, and I'm glad you are. There could be a misunderstanding, but there's enough there on our end that we have to be, obviously suspicious, curious, and wonder, and we're not trying to wreck the day, I'll promise you that much. So if I just let you out, you'll figure it out from there?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll be right over there. I gotta let you out, though. That's weird.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shoes and all are in there. Took it all.
I wanted to thank you for your time.
Yeah. When did I get my car back?
We'll keep in touch with you, okay? Thank you.
The officer was polite, reassuring even. He told her she had every right to ask her questions, that they weren't trying to ruin her day. He let her out at her building. She thanked him and walked inside. And the moment she was out of sight, Julissa Thaler grabbed 2 bags, found her boyfriend, and slipped out the back exit of the building toward the freeway. The officers had just driven their prime suspect home and let her walk away from a car with a body in the trunk.
curious your thoughts on one thing. We have not checked the trunk, and I have this terrible feeling about the trunk, and I've had it the whole time. I don't know if we can peek or if we want to leave it alone or knock and say, hey, anyone in there? But
I think, in my mind, we have enough probable cause. I mean, there's this here, for safety measure, we are impounding.
But when one of the officers returned to the abandoned car, that feeling he'd been carrying the entire morning wouldn't let him go. The blood, the shells, the smell. There was one place left that could explain all of it. They made the decision to open the trunk.
Watch out, there's a shotgun there too. But there's weight to this blanket. Holy shit. Alright, let's cover it.
Wrapped in a blanket and a shower towel, with a shotgun lying beside it, was the body of a small child.
we have to. What? There's a baby, little kid dead in the back trunk. Like a, I don't know, 6-year-old.
How old was the kid in the back?
Probably 5. Missing his head.
His head?
Gone. The arm.
So did they amputate in the freaking?
I think that's the rest of whatever's in the bag.
No, but where did they kill him?
Probably that Shell.
What Shell?
Shell gas station lot. I'm guessing. I don't know. I mean,
A 6-year-old boy with catastrophic shotgun wounds, and the woman who had been driving the car that carried him was, at that very moment, inside the apartment building just behind them, already preparing to run. The officers had seconds to act. What had begun as a traffic stop over a missing tire was now a homicide investigation involving the body of a child. The transformation of that scene was almost immediate. Within 15 minutes, the quiet residential street was filled with patrol vehicles, nearly a dozen officers, and tactical bulletproof shields. Julissa Thaler was no longer a confused, rambling woman with a broken-down car. She was the prime suspect in the murder of her own son.
Police! Police!
police department!
Watch that one. I'll cover this one.
Go with your hands up and announce yourself! Check this.
They breached the apartment with weapons drawn, clearing it room by room. But it was empty. Julissa and her boyfriend Robert were already gone, out the back of the building with a large backpack, while officers were still standing over the body in the trunk. They ran to the building's property manager and pulled the security camera footage. It gave them a description, a time, and a direction.
Pants, but I think she's changed.
Target individual leaving with a male with a large backpack at 8:45 out the rear west door.
A patrolling officer just a short distance away heard that description come over the radio and looked up to see 2 people matching it walking down the street. It was a near miracle spotting, and he didn't waste it.
On the ground! Lay on the ground! 43's got the one gun point. 02's down here to the right. You go to the right. You take him. Don't move.
You want to double that?
Julissa Thaler and Robert Pikkarainen were taken into custody on the sidewalk. The escape was over almost before it began, and as officers detained them, one made an observation that told them they already knew in their gut who the victim was.
So we have problems with her every single day getting her kid out of the car.
Is that who you think the body is?
Yeah, I think it's a I wrote this is Shirley.
Yeah, that's her only kid, Ethan, I think, Eli. And he's all over the fridge. I noted that. That's weird.
Eli. The officers had been inside that apartment. They had seen the little boy's drawing stuck to the refrigerator, the ordinary artwork of an ordinary kindergartner. They had connected it to the body in the trunk before the formal investigation had even begun. His name was Eli Hart. And before this becomes only a story about how he died, you need to know who he was. Eli Hart was 6 years old. He attended kindergarten at an elementary school in Mound, Minnesota, where, according to his father, everybody knew who he was. He was the kind of kid who made friends instantly, who waved at everyone, who lit up a room just by walking into it. He had been born with a genetic condition called Townes-Brocks syndrome. It required several surgeries in the first months of his life. It left him with flat feet and meant he would wear hearing aids for the rest of his life. None of it slowed him down for a second.
6-year-old Eli Hart had an infectious laugh and gap-toothed smile.
Just so energetic and happy and joyful.
Eli lived with them for 11 months after police found him naked, standing in a home amidst garbage and decaying food.
An infectious laugh, a gap-toothed smile. Energetic, happy, joyful. The words everyone who knew him reached for. He loved fishing with his dad. He loved animals. He loved books. He could do 20 push-ups with a huge grin on his face and loved showing people. His favorite thing in the world was spending time with his father, Tori.
But was otherwise a normal, energetic little guy who loved fishing and wolfing down a giant plate of meatballs at his favorite pizza joint. Quote, "He was everything to me, completed my life. He just loved spending time with me. I loved spending time with him." Tori Hart also acknowledged there was an open and ongoing court custody dispute with Eli's mother, Julissa Thaler.
He was everything to me. He completed my life. That is how Eli's father described his son to a jury. And his stepmother, Josephine, painted a picture of him in that courtroom that no one who heard it will ever be able to forget.
Your Honor, everyone knows Eli Hart as the victim of this senseless and horrific crime. But Eli was so much more. Eli was an amazing 6-year-old boy who always woke up full of energy and laughter. He was kind, made friends easily, loved reading books. Eli had a love for animals that was very special. Eli explored, played outside, fished with his dad. Eli was an innocent, loving 6-year-old boy. He did not deserve this.
She told the court about the small things, the things that are only small until they are gone. There was the day Eli rescued a tiny fish that had washed up stuck on the shore while he was fishing with his dad. He was so proud, so overwhelmed with excitement, that when he ran back to tell the story, he couldn't even get the words out.
The little boy who rescued just a second, I'm sorry. The little boy who rescued a baby panfish who was stuck in the shore when he was fishing with his dad. He was so proud. He came running in to tell me all about it, but couldn't get his words out because he was so excited. He was so proud.
There was the boy who told his stepmother not to be afraid of bees, that they were nice and that we need them. The boy who loved nothing more than riding high up on his father's shoulders. And the boy who, whenever anyone asked him who loved him the most, always gave the exact same answer.
When we asked him who loves you the most, would always reply, "You both do." There are no more triple hugs, no more "I love you," no more memories to be made, just emptiness.
You both do. That was Eli Hart, kind, joyful, loved, and just beginning his life. Now here is how every single system that was supposed to keep him safe failed him. Not once, but over and over, right up until the final 10 days. Eli's death did not come out of nowhere. It came at the end of a long, meticulously documented trail of warnings, and almost every one of them was ignored by the people whose job it was to act. His mother, Julissa Thaler, had a years-long history of severe drug abuse, delusions, and serious mental illness. The very first report to Child Protection about her came before Eli was even born. She was suspected of exposing him to drugs during the pregnancy. Police had been called to her home 21 times in a 10-month period. This was not a hidden danger. It was extensively on the record.
Eli lived with them for 11 months after police found him naked, standing in a home amidst garbage and decaying food. His mother, Julissa Thaler, had a history of severe drug abuse, delusions, and mental illness.
police had found Eli standing naked in a home filled with garbage and rotting food. He was removed and placed into foster care with Nikita and Stephen Kronberg, relatives of Julissa's, who took him in and gave him a stable, loving home. For 11 months, Eli was safe. And during those same 11 months, Julissa Thaler did nearly everything a person could possibly do to prove she should never get him back.
During the 11 months Eli lived with Nikita and Stephen, records reveal Julissa missed and tampered with drug tests, was arrested for stealing needles and pain meds, stopped going to therapy, and was so disruptive got kicked out of drug testing. Supervised visits with Eli went poorly. In one, on October 27th,
she missed drug tests and tampered with others. She was arrested for stealing needles and pain medication from a health clinic. She stopped going to therapy. She was so disruptive, she got kicked out of her drug testing facility for bizarre behavior. During one supervised visit, she dug her fingernails into a social worker's hand and threw garbage at her. Any one of these should have been disqualifying. And yet, after all of it, the child protection worker in charge of the case granted Julissa unsupervised visits with Eli.
When he would come back from Julissa's, his hair would be matted. His hair would be really greasy, so she wasn't bathing him or brushing his hair.
His clothes would stink. It was terrible.
Eli came back from those unsupervised visits with matted, greasy hair, unwashed, his clothes reeking. The neglect was visible on his body every time he returned. And all the while, there was a safe place he could have gone. His father, Tori, who Child Protection had investigated and found to be safe, stable, and devoted, was fighting in court to get custody of his son.
But under Minnesota law, the dad's family court custody case had to be paused until the mom's Child Protection court case was over.
Dakota Child Protection could have filed for a transfer of custody to give Eli to his dad. But despite all the red flags, decided to give Julissa more chances.
There wasn't a single green flag or yellow flag that Julissa had given. They were all red flags.
Under Minnesota law, Tori's custody case was frozen until the Child Protection case closed. But Child Protection had the power to end it themselves, to file for a transfer of custody and give Eli to his father. They had a safe, loving parent standing right there asking for his son, and they chose instead to give Julissa Thaler more chances. As one person close to the case put it, there was never a single green flag, never even a yellow flag. They were all red. And then came the decision that defies all comprehension.
She now sat in a car watching the boy's foster home. Nikita tried to confront her. The car sped away. Julissa was scheduled to have Eli move home with her on a trial basis 2 days later. Instead of being alarmed, records show Dakota County Child Protection, CPS, made the decision to have Eli move back with his mom 2 days early.
In the days before Eli was scheduled to return home, the foster family caught Julissa sitting in a car outside their house in the middle of the night, at 3 a.m, watching the home through binoculars. When the foster mother tried to confront her, she sped away. The family reported this disturbing, unstable behavior to Child Protection. Their response was not to slow down. It was not to reconsider. They moved Eli home 2 days early.
Dee Wilson has worked nearly 50 years in child welfare.
This is one of the actual most unforgivable, completely unnecessary child maltreatment deaths.
Dee Wilson, a child welfare expert with nearly 50 years in the field, reviewed the case. He normally warns against the easy trap of judging these decisions with hindsight. Not this time. He called it one of the most shocking, unforgivable, and completely unnecessary child deaths he had encountered in his entire career. And even after Eli was sent home, the warnings did not stop coming. The system simply stopped listening.
The very first day the boy went back to his mom, CPS was warned in an email from Eli's school how teachers are all addressing large concerns, flagging Julissa's speed and reckless driving in the school parking lot. Over the next 5 months, records reveal Eli's caseworkers took Julissa off drug testing, did not confirm she was going to required parent counseling, and when a teacher reported Eli said his mom hurt him, did not even investigate.
On the very first day Eli was back with his mother, his school emailed Child Protection, alarmed at the way Julissa was speeding and driving recklessly through the school parking lot. Over the next 5 months, caseworkers took her off drug testing altogether. They stopped confirming whether she attended her required counseling. And when a teacher reported that Eli had said his mother hurt him, they did not even investigate.
10 days later, the same day police processed a car with a shotgun-riddled body in the trunk, the CPS worker who didn't yet know about the murder entered her final notes in Eli's file. There were no protection issues that required ongoing child protection placement or involvement.
I truly believe that if CPS had done their job and protected Eli, he would still be here today.
Then they closed the case. The case was officially closed on May 10, 2022. 10 days later, Eli Hart was dead. And in one of the most chilling details of the entire story, on the very same day police were pulling Eli's body from the trunk of that car, the caseworker, who did not yet know he had been murdered, was sitting at her desk entering the final notes into his file. Her written conclusion: there were no protection issues that required any ongoing child protection involvement. She was closing the file on a little boy who was, at that moment, already dead. So what actually happened in Eli's final hours? For that, investigators turned to the one other person who had been in the apartment that night, Julissa's boyfriend, Robert Pickarainen. He had been arrested alongside her at first, but phone data showing he never moved that night and security footage showing Julissa leaving alone with Eli would clear him completely. At trial, fighting back tears, he told the jury what he had seen.
These images from 11:22 p.m. on May 19, 2022 are the last showing 6-year-old Eli Hart alive. Pickarainen testified while choking on tears that he and Eli were playing with kittens in Thaler's apartment at 11 p.m. on a school night.
The last known images of Eli Hart alive were captured at 11:22 p.m. in the apartment. Just before, he had been doing something completely ordinary for a 6-year-old. He was playing with kittens. It was a school night, and he was up past his bedtime, getting a little rowdy and excited the way small children do.
Mom didn't like that, so she started hitting him, Pickarainen testified. He then told the jury that as he went to bed, Thaler brought her shotgun down to the car, came back and grabbed Eli and left. He woke up the next morning by Thaler doing laundry.
His mother didn't like that he was being rowdy, so she started hitting him. Then, according to Robert, she carried her shotgun down to the car, came back upstairs, picked up Eli, and walked out into the night. Apartment security footage confirms his account. At 11 p.m., Julissa is seen alone, calmly placing her shotgun into the trunk of the car, then strapping her 6-year-old son into his booster seat and driving away. Robert woke the next morning to the sound of her doing laundry. When he asked where she had been, she told him only that she'd had to do something. What prosecutors would later prove is almost too much to put into words. Julissa Thaler drove her son to a quiet spot and shot him up to 9 times with a 12-gauge shotgun while he sat strapped into his booster seat. She stopped to reload, and she kept firing. Then she put his body in the trunk and spent hours driving around, stopping at a gas station to dispose of evidence, including his bullet-riddled car seat and some of his remains, in a dumpster. That dumpster was the one she had calmly told the officers contained spilled deer meat. When the case came to trial, Julissa Thaler's defense was simple. She didn't do it. They suggested, without evidence, that she had somehow been forced. Her attorney urged the jury to keep an open mind, but the evidence the prosecution laid out did not describe a woman who snapped. It described a woman who planned. And the most damning proof did not come from the bloody car at all. It came from the days and weeks before, while Eli was still alive, still going to school, still riding on his father's shoulders.
Torrey Hart also acknowledged there was an open and ongoing court custody dispute with Eli's mother, Julissa Thaler, when Eli was killed. Torrey wanted full custody. Leading up to the murder, Thaler had researched life insurance policies for Eli, search Google for, quote, how much blood can a 6-year-old lose, and also purchase ammunition that she wanted to, quote, blow the biggest hole into something.
The timeline tells the story all on its own. 6 days after Eli's father formally filed for custody, Julissa Thaler applied for a permit to buy a gun. She purchased the shotgun 3 days before the murder, and the day before she killed her son, she walked into a sporting goods store and asked the clerk for ammunition that would, in her own words, blow the biggest hole into something. Then there were her internet searches. They are almost unbearable to read aloud. How to keep a child away from the other parent. How to fake being home for the police. Qualifying accidental deaths. How much does life insurance pay for a dead child? And the one that leaves no room for any other interpretation. How much blood can a 6-year-old lose? These are not the actions of a person in the grip of a sudden breakdown. This was a decision, assembled coldly and deliberately over a period of weeks, researched, supplied, and rehearsed, while her son went to kindergarten and played with kittens and had absolutely no idea what his own mother was preparing to do to him. The motive, prosecutors argued, was as old and as ugly as any in the world, a custody battle she was losing. If she could not keep Eli from his father, she would make sure no one could ever have him. After her arrest, detectives sat Julissa Thaler down in an interview room. She was read her Miranda rights she was clearly familiar with, and she immediately asked for a lawyer. By law, that request should have ended all questioning then and there. Instead, the lead detective tried a workaround that would prove to be a serious mistake. He couldn't ask her questions, so he simply began laying photographs on the table in front of her. The crime scene, the car, the trunk, and finally, a photograph of Eli.
I'd prefer a lawyer just because I'm still in here, and I would have assumed that once you guys saw that I was innocent, you would let me out, but I'm still in here.
You can take your mask off. It's hard to understand you.
Yeah.
So because you want a lawyer, I'm not going to ask you any questions in relation to this case.
Okay.
I'm just going to set some stuff on the table here.
Because the detective continued the interaction after she'd asked for counsel, everything she said next would ultimately be ruled inadmissible, thrown out of her trial entirely. But while it never reached a jury, what she said in that room reveals exactly who Julissa Thaler is. Confronted with a photograph of her own murdered child, she did not break down. She did not grieve. She pivoted instantly to defending herself.
That's Eli. It's Eli.
Did you confirm it?
It's Eli in the trunk of your car.
He's such a good person. You confirmed it? Are you sure? Are you sure?
That's a dumpster. That's a dumpster. You know exactly what that is.
I don't.
And you know exactly what that is.
So you confirmed it's my baby boy. I don't want him to be involved at all in whatever they're doing, but you confirmed it's 100% my baby boy?
She called him her baby boy. She insisted she was innocent. She talked about how she had spent her life protecting him, even as she sat across from a photograph of what she had done.
I protect my son. You know what I've done to protect my son? How many orders of protection? How many times I've gone to court? How many restraining orders?
The orders of protection she bragged about were the very same false abuse claims she had filed for years against Eli's father, lies she had used to keep a good and loving dad away from his own son. Even here, even now, sitting beside a picture of Eli's body, she was still using him as a weapon in her performance. She asked for a lawyer a final time. The interview ended. Robert Pickarainen was fully cleared. His phone showed no movement the entire night, and the security footage proved Julissa had left alone with Eli. He took the stand against her and told the court that the sweet person he thought he had known was someone he now wanted nothing to do with, someone he hoped would rot in prison. Julissa Thaler pleaded not guilty. Notably, she had earlier rejected a plea deal that would have given her 40 years. She chose to gamble on a trial instead. Her defense called not a single witness and offered no real alternative theory, only that she didn't do it. The jury heard the premeditation, the searches, the forensics, the footage. They deliberated for less than 2 hours before finding her guilty on all counts.
To this day, I blame myself for not saving Eli. Should I have kept in contact with this monster after Eli was returned for the home trial?
It wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault at all. So the sooner you can let go of that, the sooner you can appreciate all the time that you did have.
At the sentencing hearing, the people who had loved Eli stood and spoke. His foster mother, Nikita, who had kept him safe for 11 months and has carried the unbearable, undeserved guilt of ever letting him return to his mother. The judge gently told her what everyone in that room knew. It was not her fault. Then Eli's stepmother, Josephine, read a statement on behalf of herself and Eli's father, Tori, who stood beside her, too broken by grief to speak. She described the moment their lives shattered forever.
On May 20th, 2022, at about 11:30 p.m., when an officer knocked on our door and asked to come in, then asking Tori to have a seat. The cries from my husband broke my heart in a million pieces, and then listening to the officer tell me what happened broke it into a million more. Watching my husband sob as his brother tried to comfort him, watching the officer's hands shake while he tried to write down his number on a small piece of paper was the moment I knew our lives had shifted forever.
The cry from her husband, the officers shaking hands, the moment a family learned that the worst thing imaginable had happened to the person they loved most. Then, Julissa Thaler was offered her chance to address the court, to say anything at all. Perhaps an apology, perhaps an explanation.
You're living out the nightmare of every parent, the worst nightmare of every parent. There's a difference between us, though, Tori. I couldn't do what you did. I couldn't if I lost my son.
And when Thaler had one last chance to share,
I'm innocent, you all.
Her final words to the court were these: "I'm innocent. F you all. You're garbage." Even her own defense attorney could only shake her head and say it didn't surprise her. Judge Jay Quam sentenced Julissa Thaler to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And before he did, he spoke directly to a grief no sentence could ever answer.
You're living out the nightmare of every parent, the worst nightmare of every. Come into this environment and tell the world the story of how the most important thing in the world was taken from you.
The worst thing that can happen to a parent, the judge said, is to lose a child. It is worse still when that child is taken from the world. And the thing no one can imagine, the thing that makes this case so uniquely horrific, is when the person who takes the child from the world is the very same person who brought that child into it.